welcome back to Ho No More Lemmings! Are you ready for the Rocky Road? Well, I sure am. I mean, this level really puts you in the mood of something. But hey, this level's about Rocky and it's about a road. So hey, it's the second of the Rocky series. So all in all, welcome back to the second half of Wicked. This is one of those levels where you have to cover a whole lot of ground, and in true Ho No More Lemming style, you have very little time to pull it off, so we better get moving. Also, I would like to waste a basher in order to not have my builder die, but hey, I need to keep my builders. And yeah, say hello to another trap. The lizards! Yeah, I think in one of the other levels they were mere decoration, but here you can see they're just deadly dead traps. They work about the same way than the laser gun did in the bubble tile set, aka you have to get at a certain range of it in order for it to trigger and kill you, so yep, all in all you need to dig before you get to the inevitable. And yeah, make sure also that your lemmings are not gonna wander near the vine. I'm just figuring at this point that this one lemming who's being assigned as a blocker is just gonna end up dying anytime soon just because he's gonna accidentally tap the plant and he's gonna end up killing itself. And yeah, we have to do this weird roundabout thing where we use builders in order to get over the wall because we don't have enough bashers, and if we mine, we're just going to go in the Tentacle River, and that's certainly not a good thing. So, once we get to this portion of the level, this is where we can finally start assigning a trailblazer in order to go forward and prepare the rest of the road for everybody. But let's make sure that the blocker is not also going to destroy the builder for us, because we're going to need those extra builders. So, since we have 2 miners and only 1 basher, we're just going to do things in a diagonally down way with the miners because we have enough of them, and you can see that the road toward the end of the level is clear cut. So, once you get to that part, if you didn't do so already, raise the release rate to 99 because otherwise you're just gonna end up running out of time. But hey, at this stage of the game, it's pretty much a given. You should be used to all of this by now. And yeah, make sure that you mine early here because there's another vine. And this one trap just looks so stupid whenever you remove all of the ground from underneath it. I mean, how does it even work anymore? I mean, if you wanted to see it work, you could somehow still end up building on it, and then you will see the lemmings being snatched by something that flat out doesn't exist, which is really stupid. So all in all, despite its awesome name, Rocky Road is just a typical Ho No More Lemmings level. Just a little bit bigger than most of your typical level, a whole lot of ground to cover, but it's not big on actual puzzles. With that said, however, you still have to deal with the introduction of the chameleon lizards, which are pretty deadly, and they will continue to be deadly as we go on through the game. We're definitely gonna have a level later on where they're going to be a huge menace. And now, are you ready to go into Suicidal Tendencies? No thanks. I'm definitely going to stick with my huge vats of whatever the hell the water is. Now, it may look like we don't have a huge margin for error, but for a Wicked level, this one is really not that hard. It's pretty reminiscent of Living on the Edge on the taxing difficulty level 12, as in you have to start your builders on the edges of the platforms in order for your lemming to end up going where it needs to be, because otherwise you're not gonna cut it. You have just barely enough builders in order to do this level, so yeah. The goal here is to land on the lower pillar, because otherwise, well, we're not going to cut it, we're just either going to collide against the wall, and that's not going to be a good thing. And make sure that you don't end up colliding with the chain thingy that is over here, because yeah, once again, this maneuver is just going to put an end to your level. And just rinse and repeat. And it gets even better whenever you get to the end of the level, because you don't really need to aim anymore. I thought for a second that you will be able to, well, if you didn't land on the one pillar, then you will die of fall damage, but I'm pretty sure that this fall is survivable. It's just my little finger which says so. Don't ask me how a finger knows those things, but yeah, that's how the thing go into this place. So yeah, the rest of the level is pretty self-explanatory. You just mine down here and you use your final builder in order to get to the end. And now might be a good time to point out that, well, in this level you do need to pay attention to where you put your blockers, because if you don't put them over the giant steel pillars, whenever you're going to blow them up, you're just going to blow up a hole in the floor that will make it so that all of your lemmings are gonna die into the bottomless abyss. So yeah, don't do that. But yeah, I'm a little concerned because right now we definitely had 2 levels in a row which really were quite easy. I hope that the wild syndrome is not going to strike again because, yeah, the wild difficulty was definitely boring. But yeah, are you ready for the almost nearly virtual reality? Also, as a kid, I always thought that this level was titled The Vertical Reality, because this level definitely is vertical. Now, this level might have a few echoes of Save Me, because you definitely might notice a couple of things, like for instance the fact that the steel blocks are aligned in such a way that it's possible to fall on them if you go in the right direction, but it's mostly just a trap. You don't want to use these. You're probably gonna run out of time if you decide to do all of the grueling journey in order to land on each of these blocks in order to go all the way down. No. You just rush straight for it. Oops. With that said, however, you still need to be careful about your builders because you certainly don't want to overflow. You need to land on where the hook is, the little circular thing that holds the hook, because otherwise things are not gonna end up well for you. And this level also assumes that, well, you do know that the lemmings can walk through the chains. I mean, there's been a couple of levels like that in the past, but this level explicitly requires you to do that in order to win. So yeah, since my staircase overflowed just a little bit, yeah, we're not gonna take any chances. We're just going to dig the hell out of this chain, and then we're going to build in a way so that we're going to land safely on the next block. And even then, I'm ready to bet that things are somehow going to end up being screwed up just because, well, I don't know, the place where I dug up my staircase seems like it's gonna fall beside the hook, so I'm gonna have to keep an eye out on that. Okay, now this time the lemming turned back. Okay, with that said, now I have completely negated any possibility that, well, the lemming is not going to fall where it needs to be because now we have a staircase. And yeah, that's the entire purpose of all of your digging tools. It's not necessary to do that, but whenever you're walking through the chains, whenever you're walking through the chains, you're going to gain some altitude, and that may end up leading to splat damage, so be careful about that. So we're done with the hard part of the level. Now it's time for the tedious part of the level, but this one can be pretty stressful because you're gonna be operating on a pretty strict time limit, and therefore all of your building needs to be done correctly. Only 2 minutes to build all the way up there, definitely a feat. So in overall, I hope that you didn't waste too much time through the chain section at the beginning of the level, because otherwise this is where you're probably going to fuck up. And in fact, I might still fuck up just because I took the time to dig through that chain at the beginning. Oh, and my release rate was not even raised. Oops! Alright, things might get hairy there. And finally, my builder is gonna need to finish a staircase on the double, because otherwise, well, my lemmings are all going to splat whenever they get here. Okay, one step forward in order to hasten the building. Okay, we barely did it. Alright, almost everybody got here in safety, and we have a mere 10 seconds at our disposal. But at least you have some forgiveness on the number of lemmings to rescue, so this level is not all that bad. Wait, the lemming learning curve? Why will we be introduced to the lemming learning curve in level 14 of Wicked? That doesn't quite make sense. Also, this level as a whole doesn't make sense because it's probably one of the easiest levels of the entire game. What the game will think about you making you do will be to send 2 climbers and then you mine in order to ready the path for your lemmings, but hey, why would you do complicated when there's a much simpler solution? Instead, we just build up here and then we bash. Yep, simple as that. Yep, that was the entire level. Why is this in the middle of Wicked? I have no clue because... honestly, this one level probably could have been a contender for the tame difficulty if they decided to put in actual puzzles in these levels, other than just doing whatever and then just let it happen just because they felt like doing so. Yeah, it's kind of insulting that I just made it by the skin of my teeth because, come on, that level was a joke. But yeah, here's a level that's not a joke. Spam, 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 Hagen Lemming! Yep, they certainly have not watched any Monty Python. Also, everyone has always been saying that Monty Python was a show about complicated humor, and well, this level is indeed pretty complicated. It's one of those good old-fashioned levels where your lemmings are going to die at the beginning of the level, and you have to do something in order to stop their imminent doom, and we're on a tight clock because if we lose more than 10 lemmings, we are dead. So whenever you play this level, you're gonna have to count, and I probably fucked it up because this took way too long. What you want to do here is to build in order to hit the left tip of the icicle in order to turn around, and then start building a ramp in order to greet all of your other lemmings. And if you want to save even more time, then make sure that you're also going to assign a floater at the last possible second. Here we go. This way we're not gonna need a blocker on the right in order to stop our lemmings. So ideally, there's probably going to be something like 8 casualties, and this is exactly what we've gotten. So it's time for Trailblazer, and we keep all of the lemmings trapped in the meantime. This level is pretty intimidating because, as you've probably seen, there's not an easy way for the end of the level here, so you're definitely gonna be ready to go through a whole lot of hoops. And in fact, I probably complicated matters a bit. Oh my god, why did they put a 1 pixel hole here? It's like you cannot even see it, but it's there. It's just, wow, the designers here were just awful dicks. Why are you doing this? Oh dear, not even one poor lemming save. Of course, I didn't save any lemmings because your level was made by a bunch of dickheads. At least I'm glad to see that Oh No More Lemmings is now back in full force. Everything that we know and love from this game, which is horrible dick moves. I don't know, you might think that this is a minus, but to me it's part of the charm of this game. This is like evil... oh, this is evil lemmings, alright, I probably should... oh no, I dug up through my ramp! Wow, everything bad is suddenly happening to me here. Yeah, I don't know, maybe I should reconsider the building of this one ramp. Yeah, we're just going to build it this way so that we're just going to end up at the lower portion. Here we go. Now, there's absolutely no way we'll hit any ceiling or whatever the hell. And now I'm just... once again, I have my eye attracted to that frickin' sponge at the bottom of the water, which is just really creepy to me because of the way it's oozing. So yeah, this is the part of the level where you're gonna have to build a whole lot, and this is where the path becomes a little bit more obtuse. We're going to need to create a tunnel here, just so that we can avoid the heist jet, and we're going to take the long road around. With that said, apparently it is possible to make it through the heist jet, which is completely on the left at the bottom, because there was this website called the Lemming Diary, and the lady who takes care of it managed to solve this one level by having one continuous staircase from the bottom of the level all the way to the exit without having the lemmings die. I mean, the ramp ended up going through the heist, but somehow it will still make it so that the lemmings will not die upon getting it, because it did not hit the part of the hitbox where it registers as a kill for the lemmings. So yeah, that's definitely a weird way in order to finish this level, but apparently it's one that can be done. And I'll do it for this one level that definitely was a whole lot more evil than the last few levels we've attempted in this one update. So here's to a good change of pace for the most part. It's definitely an interesting level, and I do like it, despite all of the asshole factor. Oh, alright, so I guess it's time for this LP to go into sponsor territory because now it's just time to name levels after drinks. And I'm going to end this update here because the next couple of levels are going to go for quite a bit, and well, this update has already went on for quite a bit, so that'll be it for now. Stay tuned for the next update where we're going to finish the Wicked difficulty.